I can guarantee if I didn't have TikTok, I wouldn't be sat in this seat today, because it has literally supercharged our growth.
Daisy, I just want to spend the next minute or so inside a six-figure live.
When I was building the brand, it was just the process. There was no polished end result. There was no high budget campaign that I could post on Instagram and get a load of likes. It's like 96% of people have like TikTok accounts and they're using the platform. No matter what industry you're in, you have to look at how people are consuming their media.
Who's inspiring you? What other brands are inspiring you at the moment?
I feel like for me, it's got to be I'm actually obsessed with her.
Acting like you, I suppose, on behalf of the brand, like what does that process look like?
Yeah, I have to say, live presenting is genuinely an art.
What do you think you'd do differently?
I would honestly say, looking back, I would have.
Daisy, welcome to Building Brand Advocacy. Honestly, I'm so excited to have you here today because you are all over my TikTok.
I'm sorry. I feel like that's all anyone says to me. Like, I've seen your face so many times on my For You page.
I love it though. I want to see more of your face. Well, welcome. Do you want to just give our audience a little bit of an intro, just let everyone know, obviously, who you are and kind of your journey of like Glow For It?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me, Verity. I'm Daisy, founder of Glow For It. Essentially, we're a solution-driven beauty brand dedicated to providing reliable and effective products that can transform not only people's lashes and brows, but their confidence as well.
I recently managed to get some of your serum. Loving it. Give me the lashes, Daisy.
We'll give you the top-ups, don't worry, we'll get them popping.
And you're in the middle. I know when our audience probably hear this, we may have already been kind of come out, but right now you're in the middle of Black Friday.
Yeah, we're 3 days out. So yeah, the pressure is well and truly on right now. It's quite a nice like break from the monotony of office life at the moment because it is very targets. So yeah.
Just tell us a little bit about what does that look like for you at the moment? Like what are your days looking like with obviously the lives and like you said, like with the targets and office life?
The days are long at the moment. I can't lie. I think last week we were averaging a 13 to 14 hour working day, probably for the last 7 days. It's been really intense. We've been typically going live from about 7 a.m. So 7 a.m. till some nights midnight. And often I don't really think it's fair on asking the additional team to come in that much earlier. So I've been taking some of those morning slots and then often I'll take those later in the evening slots as well. So lack of sleep, the skin's suffering, but we're nearly out of it now. And it is such a good way at just communicating with the audience. So I just think it's really powerful and important. But yeah, basically a lot of the days spent up doing that in between working different channels, optimizations, web optimizations, make sure we're kind of tracking to the optimistic targets that we've set.
There's so much to think about, like not even just with Black Friday, but I think this whole quarter as a whole, like, you know, not even just the sales, but life and just trying to fit everything in. I mean, we were just saying off air, like all these parties, all the kind of like family things, like it's just so much.
This is like personal information, but I basically I've bought a house and we're moving next Friday and my family and friends are all like, amazing, are you excited? I'm like, what house, who, what, where? I'm not even thinking about it till we get to the end of this, till we get to Monday, then I'll maybe be like, oh, I'm moving on Friday, that's quite exciting. But yeah, it's been a juggle. And I also feel at the moment, we had the biggest product launch of our year was in October. Yeah. And that was really trying to ramp us up towards Black Friday. But for me, it feels like our peak literally started in October for that launch. Wow. And it's just not slowed. Yeah. It's been crazy.
Countdown to Christmas. I want to dig into some of that TikTok stuff that you were just talking about, but I suppose first of all, like, I mean, you also said, like, everyone says to you, you're all over my like TikTok. Yeah. Was TikTok your founding platform, would you say?
Yeah, unintentionally. I, at the time when I started the business, obviously very limited resource. We've been fully bootstrapped since the beginning. And at the start, it was always just me and my tripod and my phone. And I was that content creator for the brand. Yeah. It's actually quite funny because when I first started, it was in lockdown and I didn't tell any of my friends that I started this business, because I thought, oh, if it all goes, wrong, at least no one will find out. And it got so far down the line that literally friends were calling me being like, are you the social media manager for this beauty brand? Like, we're seeing your face everywhere. What is this? And then I was like, I need to come clean now. This is actually mine. But yeah, I think at the beginning, because I have a background in theatre and things, so I'm quite comfortable on the camera.
Yeah.
It was just quite an easy, not even strategic, but just a plug-in that I could communicate that so easily directly as the founder. So yeah, definitely started off Instagram and TikTok at the same time, but 100% the growth we saw on that platform, particularly in those early years, like they weren't even comparable in terms of impact on the business. So TikTok has always had a large portion of our resource.
Why do you think that is? What do you think you were doing that was resonating more with the TikTok audience and platform more than Instagram?
I think there's a number of things. I always like to say we were a very early adopter to the platform, and I think it was much easier, but to have impact on the platform back then compared to now. Obviously now you've got huge players and huge industry giants that are really putting a lot of focus and energy into the platform and driving a lot of spend. So it's a very different landscape to what it was. But I really do feel like on TikTok, there's that superpower in being able to show the process, whereas Instagram, I feel, is much more for that polished end result. And when I was building the brand, it was just the process. There was no polished end result. There was no high budget campaign that I could post on Instagram and get a load of likes. It was me in my parents' kitchen packaging the orders. So our story or our positioning and our journey really translated through that platform. So yeah, I'd say probably initially that was why the traction grew there.
There's still like some people out there that question TikTok, and I suppose traditional marketing versus like TikTok first. What are your opinions on that?
The way people consume media and the way people choose to shop through platforms has completely changed. And I think if you are to look at it in that kind of not historic landscape, but maybe a more traditional landscape. TikTok Shop is this brand new thing that people didn't really understand in the early days. They didn't really know how consumers were going to react to the platform. But I think it's our jobs in the industry to move with the times and also be adaptable. Like that is the beauty of an ever-changing landscape that we're in. So I think probably a lot of the people who were maybe questioning or skeptics of the platform are now having to maybe take a look at their own strategy, because the impact of it is undeniable. And if you're not on that train, you're not going to be heading to that destination. You're not going to be entertaining and educating and converting those potential customers as well. So I think, I don't really believe there's space to still have that mindset towards the platform anymore, given the power, particularly in our industry in beauty. There was a recent study, and it was how do consumers purchase their beauty products nowadays, and the rating was Boots in the UK. It was Boots, then TikTok Shop, and then Superdrug. So if you're a beauty brand and you're not in that space, you're not playing in those same kind of categories as those leading brands anymore.
Daisy, I just want to spend the next minute or so inside a 6-figure live. Talk to us like we're sitting in the studio with you. What were the vibes going in?
The vibes, we did a dance warm-up. We arrived. The energy, I have to say, for those 12-hour lives, you need to bring the energy. So you've got to warm yourself up vocally, physically. It sounds dramatic, but honestly, it's like doing a show or a performance. We actually arrived the day before, so we spent, good few hours the day before pre-filming, probably about 20-25 pieces of content, because whilst you're live on those 12 hours, you need to be posting twice, 3-4 times an hour to make sure you're literally bombarding the algorithm with your content. So vibes were up, a lot of prep had been done. We were probably preparing and planning that live about a month in advance, maybe even longer. So it's not something you pull together in the space of a few days. There's a lot of strategy that goes into building up for one of those big days.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I want to know what dance you did.
I think it was Mamma Mia. I think just the Dancing Queen or something came on and then we just danced. First 60 seconds, 5 minutes are the most important, arguably part of the entire live. If you don't have impact on that first section of the live, the algorithm's not going to be pushing you to those new audiences and customers. So in the first 60 seconds, we get straight in there with a giveaway. So a giveaway goes live. Everyone comes in and joins the room because they get a notification push. And then you're really clear in the key hero offerings of the day so that you're getting people to sustain within the room. So giveaway goes live, welcome everyone, obviously, and then going straight into you have the chance potentially to win some prizes. We had some prizes available in that live. We'll be doing, the biggest deals and discounts of, the entire Glow for It year. And really spotlighting kind of those key moments in those first 5 to 10 minutes.
When did you know we've hit this one's taking off?
It was the first time we had ran a buy one, get one free deal on our lash serum, which isn't a lever I enjoy pulling, but for us, especially on TikTok, when it is typically more of a discount-led platform, it's actually more financially appropriate for us to run those sort of incentives at full price than it is for TikTok to take, a £12 voucher onto our hero SKU and kind of slash the price. So for us, it's more valuable within our customer and our brand piece to keep that full price, but offer that free gift. And also it keeps people in our ecosystem for longer. So it was the first time we launched that offering, and literally within, the space of the half an hour it was live, I think we did kind of
Did a product sell every 21 seconds?
Yeah, when we looked at the overall breakdown of the live from the number of units sold within the 12 hours, it worked out about one every 20 seconds. And actually, I think a lot of them, we sold a lot of bundles within that live as well. Yeah. So when you break down, those are bundles being sold, individual SKUs, it was probably more every 10 to 15 seconds.
Was there a moment when the team just started scrambling in the background and it kind of felt a bit chaotic?
The whole thing is chaos. I mean, if you think people are just in the background tapping, you've got a constant stream of information coming through to you. So we'll have a screen that comes up and says, in 30 seconds, this is the bundle that is going to drop. And that is the top tip for the lives. It's the bundling opportunity. Especially on lives, you need to have that perceived value. So for us, in order to not kind of slash our AOV, we create multiple bundles and then we'll do drops of bundles for a limited time frame. It gives a sense of urgency, but also people are genuinely getting a really good deal. But I believe in that one, we launched our kind of everything bundle, which was worth, let's say, £400, slashed it down to £90. We only dropped, I think, 10, and in 30 seconds, all 10 are gone. And that's when you kind of look around like, maybe we should drop a few more of those. That's kind of obviously got people biting in the comments and in the audience. So you test a lot throughout the live, you find your winners, and then you push those.
And finally, what's the kind of the number or the moment that has still stuck with you today from that live?
I think it was that overall, when I looked at TikTok back end and at the end of that day and saw we'd kind of hit those 6 figures, I think for me, thinking where I was in the business when I first started it, growing on my own, and also with the targets that TikTok set you some pretty hefty targets to hit. So there's a sense of relief when you do hit those numbers that they're expecting, but also just taking a step back and thinking, God, that's actually a crazy achievement for one channel's performance on a random day in April. We weren't in Black Friday, we weren't in peak, we were literally in a random Friday in April, and to hit those sort of goals is
amazing,
pretty crazy.
Well done, congratulations.
Thank you.
Even when I said traditional marketing, I was like, what is that now? Because actually, I think it's moved on so much in the last 3 years, but teams aren't moving on, especially sort of in the social space, because the whole marketing team actually, because it has evolved so much, but we're still operating in teams from 2016. I'm like, why are we still doing this? So it is really interesting that you've kind of picked up on that, and I think it's more kind of just evolving with the channels, but actually within organizations as well, and how you kind of map out your teams to, I don't know, sort of go against what's happening in the industry.
also as a marketeer, I had no background in this, by the way. I did a degree in musical theatre, so I'm not speaking as someone with any level of experience in kind of that more traditional landscape. I just do feel, no matter what industry you're in, you have to look at how people are consuming their media.
Yeah.
And people are, I don't know the exact percentages, but TikTok have said very high. I think it's like 96% of people have like TikTok accounts and they're using the platform. Don't quote me on that. But it's very high percentage of people. And out of all the social media platforms, it's where people are spending the majority of their time.
Yeah.
And we know in marketing now that people don't purchase after seeing a brand 3 times because there's so much saturation. It's seeing a brand 10, 19, 25 times. So if you can be at all of those physical touch points of someone's not only social journey, I know there's out of home and things as well, but that's probably the easiest barrier in terms of social strategy to build.
Yeah. I actually read a stat that I think 37% of like TikTok users say that they immediately purchase something after discovering it on TikTok, which I think for me is huge because it really kind of shows how it just compresses that whole funnel piece quite dramatically. I know that's quite a small percentage, but actually in the grand scheme of things, it's showing quite significantly what TikTok is doing.
100%. And that's what TikTok always say. It is a discovery platform.
Yeah.
Gen Zs are now not using Google as their search engine. They are using TikTok. If I'm going abroad, where is the best country in Europe to go in these months? I'm searching it in TikTok. So if you want to be part of that discovery, whether you're a brand, a business, a product, a service, like you need to be visible where those people are actively searching. And I do think like there's this big story around the halo effect of TikTok, but genuinely I know today if we were to unplug TikTok, not only would that impact obviously our TikTok sales, but all of our other channels would suffer because that discovery and that brand awareness piece is driven through that platform for us. So it is super powerful whether you're going to use it for its like commerce platform or whether you're just going to use it as a social activation piece and you can't even purchase the product through TikTok. It will have a direct correlation into your other channels as well.
Yeah, I think this is the other piece as well, like what I was meaning about the marketing teams, because I still think we're operating very siloed. And it's like, with your commerce team, it's not speaking to the social team's not speaking to SEO and, like even social speaking to creative, because it all should be integrated now. And I think everybody's kind of operating on these different, metrics and like what they're classing as performance. And there's always been like brand versus performance, whereas I actually think it's much bigger than that now.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think also that's the beauty. We're in obviously a very small team compared to, far bigger brands. So we do have that beauty of being so integrated as a team, cross-functional. And I think it really does play to your strengths, especially when you're trying to jump on trends as quickly as possible. Integrate, a TikTok trend then into something on another channel or through email marketing. All of that is very linked for us at this stage in the business.
Yeah. So starting off on your own with the tripod and your own camera, it's 5 years on?
5 years on, 5 years in July. Yeah. Crazy.
What do you think you'd do differently with the brand now, thinking back and what you've learned?
I think one of the big things, I started the brand when I was 22, I want to say 21, 22. So I was very young. I had no experience at all. And I very much trusted the advice that I was getting from everyone around me. And also, don't get me wrong, everyone thinks they've got an amazing piece of advice to tell you. But the truth was that this was a brand new platform that no one knew or understood at that point. So I would honestly say, looking back, I would have trusted my gut probably even more on certain decisions and, certain strategic plays maybe. Everyone was very cautious of me being reliant on TikTok as a platform. But actually, I can guarantee if I didn't have TikTok, I wouldn't be sat in this seat today because it has literally supercharged our growth. So again, getting back to that more kind of traditional sense of how to run a business. Lots of people are going to tell you their opinions and what they think you should be doing. But if you're seeing a winning area that you can cut through the noise, follow that opportunity. And to be honest, I think I would have gone even more all in, because I was from that early stages still really trying to diversify our channels, even though I was seeing this winning platform. You know, I was pulling spend back from there to put into other channels to grow them. But actually, the best opportunity was through there. It was building our brand awareness, and then kind of the follow through strategic play could happen afterwards.
Yeah.
In a roundabout way, basically try to trust your gut.
Especially women's gut, definitely, you know.
Yeah, and you know what? A lot of the advice was coming from older men in business, so let's leave that there. But it is interesting, like, there is a reason there is this whole kind of host of young female entrepreneurs coming through, because our voice is valid and we know the products that we want to consume and how we want those products sold to us, essentially. So, yeah.
I wanted to just kind of tap into a couple of things that you've said there. The first one is, like, I mean, you're the face of the brand, right? You've kind of put yourself out there since day one. And then also you saying, like, if TikTok hadn't been around, you wouldn't be obviously doing what you're doing. If you had to step away from the business, what do you think would break and what do you think would kind of like stay running?
I think one of our big challenges, or for any brand that puts a founder in a really front of house kind of position within the business, I think we still, to a degree, rely on me quite heavily for creative pieces, campaigns, social shoots, etc. I think it's a really powerful way at building that connection. So probably I would slightly worry that our connection to our customer would be slightly damaged if I was to step away at this point. I think we've still got work to do in strengthening that connection to the brand and the product externally from me, which is probably like that next stage of growth. We're 5 years, we're very early on into our journey. So it's now, how do we strengthen that? And then, there's a pressure there when you are that face and it lives and breathes through you. No one's always feeling their best and no one's always feeling 100%. And that pressure to be that kind of beacon for the brand can be a lot, but equally I wouldn't change it. You know, I think the whole beauty of the brand was because I went through a personal struggle with my lashes and picking them out, etc. So that was our core connection to our community and our customers from day one, and built that trust and that advocacy as well, because people trusted my experience, which is something that I think was lacking at the time within the industry. So
do you find being the face of the brand that kind of correlates to when you're on a live versus when your team's doing it, in terms of like sales and the community aspect as well? Do you feel like that heightens when it's you?
I would actually say I've spoken to quite a few founders like this. Don't get me wrong, it definitely previously, probably about a year ago, the numbers would be, let's just say, double what they would be if I wasn't there. So whenever we do our big lives, quickly I'd go off and get a drink, and the back end would be like, get Daisy back on, we need the numbers and the run rate back up. But honestly now, I really feel like because we've put so much emphasis on our live presenters almost have their own kind of fans and followers, and they're represented so strongly within the brand. And I think it's like you were saying about working as that kind of integrated ecosystem. It's not siloed to someone's just seeing these live presenters on a live once a week. They're part of the entire marketing and social strategy. If we do a campaign, it's often the team that are featuring in that campaign, and it's the team's top pick. So it's not always now just Daisy's, which is really refreshing. Like, we do our big lives, and at the end of it, we'll get a breakdown of each live presenter, the presenter duos, and the revenue driven per hour by those presenters. Wow. And honestly, sometimes other people are getting higher than me, so that's brilliant. But that's taken some time and some consistency to get it to that level. But I'm noticing a bit of a shift now, which I think is all part of that kind of strategic play, that it isn't so dependent and reliant on me, because that obviously also isn't a way to grow a successful business long term. Yeah.
What's the process with working with the live presenters then? So they're almost like, they're not just on there to review a product and try and sell it. Like, how do you, I suppose, make them feel like they're acting like you, I suppose, on behalf of the brand? Like, what does that process look like?
Yeah, I have to say, live presenting is genuinely an art, like, in itself. I don't think lots of people think they could do it.
Yeah.
But you are talking often to a camera on a tripod for, let's say, 3 hours straight. And you've got a host of questions coming through. But as you say, the brand and the excitement and the energy has to come through you. So we do a lot of live training for our presenters. They have to start off by doing co-lives with some of our like more experienced presenters. But the whole thing basically runs as its own kind of aspect within the business. We've got a live studio separate to our office. We have a host of live presenters. A schedule gets put into that. I always say it's like if we had a physical retail store, you would make sure that the people working in that physical retail store knew your products, knew the ingredients, knew how to talk to your customer, their pain points. So it's exactly that same thing. It's just on a really isolated kind of screen environment. But
sounds hectic to organise. Especially this week, maybe.
Yeah, it has been. I think because we've been going from doing probably 3 to 6 hours a day on live, whereas over peak we're 9 to 12. So that is a lot of kind of slots to fill. But we also now do work with some agencies to help us with like external hours. So often those really early live slots and those late ones in the evening, we work with agencies to help and support with that.
Okay. The second part to what I wanted to dig into is like if TikTok was paused. I mean, obviously there's been drama with it in the US and I mean the numbers and the data shows that it isn't slowing down in terms of that whole like social commerce piece. But if it did, what would be your kind of like day one on TikTok not being around anymore?
Yeah, it's a big thing we've looked at. You know, I think probably 2 years ago, I was really recognising the reliance on that strategy. And it's easy to do. You know, our cost per acquisition on TikTok is, you know, a quarter of what it is on any other channel. So it's very hard from a leadership role to say, let's not just ride that wave while that opportunity's there and we can acquire those new customers. I think I will get back to answering your question, sorry. But I think one of the big things we noticed, we were very much treating our TikTok customer as a completely different pool to our online customer. And we've actually found, having gone into kind of more of the data behind it, that our TikTok customers are almost just graduating onto our online store eventually. So again, it's acting as that brand awareness piece to feed them through, and for us at a far lower cost than if we were to do it on other channels. We've had a big strategic play in diversifying our channel approach. We've gone on to Amazon now, which is already kind of really growing for us rapidly, which is great. I think we were noticing that, you know, our organic search terms in Amazon anyway were so high because of our awareness on other platforms that if we weren't present on that platform, we were just going to lose that potential customer. We've really built out in diversifying that. We've gone into B2B a lot more in 2025 and built out that area of the business. So we launched into Boots this year. Just My Look. We've just launched into Debenhams and PLT as well, and in some conversations with some others. So really looking to build out that side of the business. But I also feel like TikTok has given us that really good step in the right direction. Like when you're coming to brands with the impact on TikTok and social success you've had, it's very difficult for them to kind of close the door to you because the opportunity is there. So honestly, I still think to this day, if our TikTok was to go and the platform was still around, I would still invest heavily into building brand awareness through that channel. And maybe that wouldn't necessarily be through having a TikTok shop live, but I still think I would socially really push a lot of our strategy towards the channel to help build that brand awareness. But also, like all things, it's very important to have like diversity amongst your channels. Like, where are you showing up for your customer? I'm really looking into more of where your customer is spending their time. You know, we do monthly calls with our customers, and given the size of our team, I think we do a lot of customer interaction, probably more so than, I'm not saying most brands, but for the size of our team, we do put a lot of resource into there. So last month we had a customer focus group and we invited 30 customers into the office and we just sat down and talked to them. We do monthly check-in calls with different groups and pools of customers. You know, if that's people who have purchased one last year and once, let's sit down on a call with them and see why they haven't subscribed, how we could get them, you know, built into more of our ecosystem. We do monthly customer community events. So we'll host events in different areas in the UK, free of charge, just come along. And it's literally learning opportunity for us, as much as great for socials and engaging our community as well. There's nothing you can learn more than when you're just stood in a room with
absolutely
your customer.
Yeah, I mean, we say all the time, it's like, just pick up the phone and speak to a customer.
Yeah.
You know, give them, like, they feel, like when one of my favourite brands interacts with me, or if I'm like one of my favourite brands doing a live, like I might go on later tonight and watch you and Thomas and be like, hi, and like you guys just saying hi back to me, I'd be like, oh, they've recognised me. And it's the smallest things that just make you kind of go, oh, they see me, they want to hear like what I have to say, they value me. And that goes so much, like that two-way dialogue is worth, I don't know, so much more than like these little pieces of data that you're getting from these channels, because I just think it's so powerful.
I think so. And back to your question, I do genuinely think if there was one thing I would plug in from day one, starting from scratch, it would be lives. And I know I'd probably have to sit on these lives for weeks with no one coming in, no one purchasing. But eventually, that is the, in my opinion, quickest way to build an authentic community who feel like they are communicating directly with you as the business owner, or, you know, representatives from the business.
Yeah.
Our lives, we genuinely have them every day to act as a Q&A hotspot, you know, a customer service area. You know, it's a direct interaction. And that also helps minimize customer frustrations. If you feel like you're dealing with someone directly, as you say, in a phone call, your frustration is going to be so much lower because you know that's a real person at the end of the day. So yeah, I would say lives, if you want to cut through, build an authentic community around you. And as a founder, it doesn't even have to be you.
No.
It just needs to be people who are clear on your mission and know your products.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love hearing that from a podcast that talks about advocacy. It's what I like to hear.
Yeah, it is important. I mean, as we say, like everyone talks about building this community and this amazing kind of culture of a brand. We're on such a digital world. I really feel like it's the only space within the social platforms that you can cut through that with ease, you know, building that genuine advocacy with your customer directly rather than through chains of emails or through DMs where they're not even sure whether they're talking to a real person or AI, you know.
Do you feel you've kind of got a connection with, like, you know, it's not even like your highest spenders, but like the people out there that just engage with you the most as well? Do you, maybe not you or your team, but do you recognize the difference in kind of like your community in that way? Because I always think that sometimes I can't always afford to buy from my favorite brands, but I engage in everything they do. Like I read the emails, like I'll open them. I will, you know, respond to anything I see on social media. You know, I'm in the broadcast channels, but then they do a community event and it's like not with those most engaged people. And that I find that really disheartening as a consumer. So do you feel you've kind of got that connection piece with the engagers as well as the spenders?
I would say so. I think the majority of people who sit on our lives, not the majority, we're like, I think 60% new customers in lives, but we'll have people that sit 10 a.m. till 10 p.m. on the live. They won't purchase anything, but they are literally being the moderators in our comments section. If I'm talking away on the live, I'll be like, oh, you know, Lauren, do you mind just answering that question for me? And they're in there on the comments that just because they're genuinely passionate about the brand. And, you know, it's also, as you say, rewarding that customer pool and that customer base. They might not be constantly purchasing, but they're there, they're your representatives. And we really see, or I see that as my responsibility of like, how can I give back to that audience in particular? So we've definitely gone down the path of doing, you know, influencer dinners and events. And just for me, putting our resource into these community events when we can go and meet the genuine people who are building the business with us to the point it is today, that is so much more valuable to strengthen those connections. And an example being, I went to this auction. This is a long story, but anyway, I ended up getting a box to a Jason Derulo concert. It wasn't meant to happen. I left my hand up for too long. But anyway, that's a very different story. I got this box to Jason Derulo, which is actually going to be amazing. 24 tickets. And straight away, I was like, right, we need to film this on TikTok because we need to bring the community to this event with us. You know, this isn't for bringing 24 influencers along to take one selfie of products they maybe haven't even used before. This is, okay, I don't know how we're going to pick, but some of you are going to be able to come to this with me and the team. We're going to dance all night. And already we've only given away 2 tickets so far, but they've gone to people on our lives, basically. So giving prizes available on our lives.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's going to be such a fun night.
It's going to be a big night. It's going to be a big night. I feel like people are going to be, I didn't know how many good songs he has. It's going to be great.
Daisy, I'd love to just get a little bit of an insight into that whole community piece for 2026 and what you're going to be focusing on. I'm guessing it's probably more of these like intimate community events, but I would just love to get an insight into what does that look like for you next year?
Yeah, I think for us, it's those intimate community events. An example being we're planning one in January that's going to be kind of a bit of a reset. We're launching this kind of Unlock Your Growth campaign around encouraging people to get on their growth journeys with the Lash Brow hair serums. An example one, we're going to hire out a venue and we're going to be inviting community along, and it's all going to be related around wellness and empowering our community to feel better in themselves. So just really bringing everything we do back to our core values the roots of why we're doing what we're doing. I think there's a lot of noise, and then you can end up, I mean, Jason Derulo's a silly example, but like you can end up doing more pieces like that maybe don't ring true to your core values. So we're just like really focusing on getting back to that. How can we have those in-person touch points? Example, this year we did a Boots roadshow, and when we launched into Boots, we did this big pop-up event, but it was in London, and I was like, we need to go around the UK and meet our customers all across the UK, even though we're a London-based brand. So myself and a different team member went to all different cities across the UK and just stood in Boots stores, and we gave out, gifted products. And it was just an opportunity to go to these locations and meet the communities that we have there.
Yeah.
And it's so eye-opening as a founder, seeing who turns up and how your products have impacted people and, why they resonate so strongly with the brand. So yeah, for me, it's going to be about really having those physical touch points next year. Because I think that's the power that lives bring. People think or feel like they're having a physical kind of communication and relationship with you. So again, breaking down the barriers of, I guess, the social parameters and platforms, and just being able to get to know people more personally.
I guess that's kind of like the whole community trust piece though, isn't it? Because as it gets noisier, as I suppose you grow as a brand as well, that will protect those little in real life moments as well. I don't think we can predict what this marketing space will look like in the next 3 years. When we think about what it was 3 years ago to now, like, it scares me actually a little bit.
Yeah. No, a lot of change. And I think even little things like we'll do a walk around a park, but we put those tickets into our broadcast channel. They're free tickets and everyone would get a coffee and it'll be a walk. Yeah. They sold out in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Because people just want that personal touch point. They're craving that physical interaction with brands that they follow and they resonate and support online. So yeah, I think it's going to be really important, but it'll be interesting to see the direction everything goes.
You just have to be adaptive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the superpower, isn't it, to be able to do that.
Who's inspiring you? What other brands are inspiring you at the moment?
I feel like for me, it's got to be a bit of Colette from the Inky List. I'm actually obsessed with her, and I think she knows that well and truly.
I am obsessed as well. And because she was on this podcast, she stupidly gave me her WhatsApp number, and I just send her all sorts of things.
As you should, honestly. But she's so generous with her time, Colette. But I also think when you actually look at the work Inky are doing, and not only their mission and the products they're giving people, but the way they give back and the incredible business she's built with what I feel from the outside looks like an amazing team culture. I just think as someone to aspire to be like within the industry, she for me is
I feel it.
Kiss.
I feel that love. And what's next for Glow For It?
What's next for Glow For It? As I've mentioned, we're getting really back to our roots. So those lash brow growth products and just getting back to those core reasons why people use Glow For It to feel kind of more confident in themselves. So we launched into Ireland at the start of this year. I think we've still got a lot of work to do there to build the community in Ireland. And I do think there's a real gap for the product in that market. And US potentially on the horizons, maybe not in the early 2026, but maybe towards more Q3, Q4. Yeah, lots of exciting bits.
Watch this space.
Watch this space. It's going to be a journey.
Daisy, it's been great chatting with you. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.